Please continue to eat, but we're going to get started with our program here shortly. My name is Zach Flackus, and I'm the President and CEO of the NSU Foundation. On behalf of Northern State University, our alumni, the Foundation, our athletic department, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's event. This is our annual Homecoming Gypsy Days Hall of Fame Distinguished Alumni Banquet, so thank you for attending. At this time, I'm proud to introduce Dr. Neil Schnorr, NSU's president. Dr. Schnorr is NSU's 18th president and has spent most of his career in higher education in the state of Nebraska. He's been a dean, a chief of staff, but he has a background in music. Maybe we'll get him to play later. No, he's out of that. Music and teaching. But please help me welcome to the podium NSU President Dr. Neil Schnorr.
Thank you very much, Zach. They need to make this a little taller. Okay. I'll try to lean in, but it's kind of uncomfortable talking like this. Well, welcome. Welcome to Northern. If you haven't been back in a long time and you haven't been around to see the campus, please do so. I think it looks a little different. We have several people in this room who have contributed over $150 million over the last 7 to 8 years to totally renovate our residential facilities, #1 in the state, our athletic facilities behind me, both softball complex and football, #1 in the state, our science building, Jewett Regional Science Building. We have people coming from other states to look at it, to see how to design a building that's put together that well, that serves our educational and research purposes. And then the state followed through. There's a little hole on the side of our campus, but we'll have a new Business and Health Innovation Center where we'll have our business programs, and we'll also launch a nursing program for the first time, very critical with the critical needs in nursing there. I want to take this moment to also thank Zach and his staff. I'll give you a few stats here in just a moment. But our foundation has done very well for a very long time, but they've really accelerated under Zach's leadership. I won't call them out by name, but please, would all of our NSUF staff and President Flackus please stand so we can express our appreciation. And to get just a couple of things that they've done, the endowment at Northern State. So picture this, in 1999, the endowment stood at $6 million. By 2019, it stood at $16 million. And today, it stands at $56 million. We need to applaud that. What they're able to do is provide $3.6 million in scholarships this year to 2,269 students. That's a lot of money. So when I got here, my job was to put that money to good work. You appoint 4 great deans, you have a really good provost, you start updating your academic programs, you offer associate's degrees that are career ladders into bachelor's degrees, into master's degrees. You have professional boards that advise those degrees so they're current and they're real. You make experiential learning the goal so that they are doing a final project. They are doing hands-on learning, but they will do student teaching. They will do an internship. They will develop an art portfolio. They will do a lecture recital. They will do research projects. And those are the kinds of things that make them ready for the workplace, and we should applaud all of that as well. I'm waving to 2 very special people in the back of the room just so they come out so you can see them. No homecoming celebration is complete without the crowning of our Queen and King. This year's homecoming queen is Madison Park. Madison is from Watertown, South Dakota, and is majoring in elementary and special education. Madison hopes to become a first-grade teacher and coach middle school girls basketball, and then return to no place other than Northern State. We won't let you do it, Madison, to earn her master's in administration and be a principal. Madison Park. This year's homecoming king is Jacob Ebeling. Jacob is from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and is majoring in biochemistry. He told us today he's pre-med and will be taking his test soon. He's just a tad nervous about that, but you'll do good. You'll do well, all right? He's a member of the baseball team. He's highly involved in several campus clubs and organizations, serves as the president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, co-president of the Pre-Health Club, athletic chair representative for the Student Government Association, and in his spare time he does STEM outreach among many other things. Let's give a warm round of applause for Madison and Jacob. To the members of the Hall of Fame and distinguished alumni, all of you have made significant contributions to the fabric of NSU. With over 30,000 graduates around the world, being honored is a wonderful tribute to your talents and your impact during your days at Northern and your success since graduation. And if you look around the room, you may recognize a number of previous Hall of Fame and distinguished alumni inductees. At this time, will all former inductees please stand so we may recognize you? There's a guy back there. I still don't know how he got in, but no, I'm just teasing. Just teasing. To our 2024 inductees, we are here this evening to recognize you, your teammates, your coaches, professors, and staff, and your families. Northern takes great pride in all you have achieved. Welcome back to Northern, because no matter where you live or what you do, you're always a member of Wolves Nation. For our first induction, please welcome our NSU Director of Athletics, Mr. Nate Davis.
Thanks, Dr. Schnorr. It's an honor to be here tonight, and I get the pleasure of introducing our first inductee this year. So the first inductee of the 2024 class is Hannah Castigar. So I'm going to make a few comments about Hannah and her career here, and I was talking with Caden Huntruns, our current swim coach, and he shared a few comments with me, and I did a little research and learned a few things. Got to talk to Hannah tonight earlier, and I think, you know, you've always heard the line of never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So most of what I'm going to say is factual and correct, and it speaks to Hannah's career. There may be a couple of things that are legend of her career as well, but we'll let her fill in the details. So Hannah was a mainstay and a champion in swimming for many years. If you look at the current record board for NSU swimming, it shows how big of an impact she's had at Northern years after having graduated. During her time at Northern, she set, broke, and rebroke over 20 program records, set multiple NSIC records, 4 of which still stand today, which I think is quite impressive with the caliber of this conference that we have to still have those conference records. She was a 3-time national champion, an 8-time All-American, and won multiple conference championships and awards. The list would go on and on. And here's where the legend of her athleticism kicks in here, and I think this is phenomenal. She competed in a swimming competition, swam her program, did all of the events, which, if you know anything about swimming, that's incredible. My understanding of swimming is that if you swim a mile, it's the equivalent of running 3 miles. So do the math there, and you can kind of imagine what that's like. So she did the full program, jumped in the car, took off, and went to the NSIC cross-country championship, got out, ran in the championship, placed or scored for the team, helped the team in their overall finish in that. And so had not trained, had not practiced, just thought, you know what, I'll just go run with the best of the best, and did really well. So I think that speaks to the caliber of athlete that she is. So when the discussion started and to review her resume and her candidacy, it was an absolute no-brainer. And perhaps the only thing that was faster than Hannah's times in the pool was the decision from the committee to say, yes, she's in. She'll be a Hall of Famer at Northern State. So Hannah, congratulations. We're very proud of you and the success that you've had. We've got a video here that we'll show, and then we'll bring you up here and let you make a few remarks.
Hannah Castigar graduated from Northern State University in 2019 with a Bachelor of Science in Human Performance and Fitness and minor in Health Education. As the first national champion in program history, Castigar recorded a decorated career with the swim team between 2016 and 2019. She was a 3-time NC2A national champion, 8-time NCAA All-American, and how about a 7-time NSIC Conference champion for the Wolves. Her first national championship came on March the 9th, 2017 in the 400-meter individual medley with a then-school record time of 4 minutes and 12 seconds and 99 hundredths of a second. She followed that up with her second title the following day in the 200 butterfly with a time of 1 minute and 58 seconds and 36 hundredths of a second. Her third and final national crown came in March of 2019, breaking her own school record in the 400 IM with a time of 4 minutes, 11 seconds, and 15 hundredths of a second, defeating the runner-up by 6 clean seconds. Castigar recorded All-American honors in the 200 IM in 2017 and 2019, the 400 IM in 2017 and 2019, the 100 butterfly in 2017, the 200 butterfly in 17 and 19, and the 200 breaststroke in 2019. In 2017, she won NSIC championships in the 100 butterfly, 200 butterfly, 200 IM, and 400 IM, and was both the NSIC championship swimmer of the meet and swimmer of the year. As a senior in 2019, Castigar won the NSIC championships in the 200 butterfly, 200 IM, 400 IM, and was again honored as the NSIC swimmer of the year. Castigar continues to hold Northern State school records in the 50 freestyle, 100 freestyle, 200 freestyle, 1,000 freestyle, 50 backstroke, 50 breaststroke, 100 breaststroke, 200 breaststroke, 50 butterfly, 100 butterfly, 200 butterfly, 200 IM, and 400 IM, and Northern Sun Conference records in the 200 IM, 400 IM, 100 butterfly, and the 200 butterfly. She closed out her Northern State career as the 2019 Hildred Wolf Award winner and the 2019 Thunder Award Female Performance of the Year winner. Castigar competed on the national stage at the U.S. Olympic Trials in 2012, 2016, and 2021, competing in the 400 IM, 200 IM, 200 backstroke, and 200 butterfly.
That resume is incredible. If you would, please help me welcome our first inductee of the class of 2024, Hannah Castigar.
Thank you. This is really, really an honor. I want to start by thanking God, because without him, I would not be where I am today. I want to thank my family and all of my friends who have always supported me and loved me throughout all of the years of my training and my career, and who always pushed me to be my best, and then most importantly, encouraged me to have fun with everything that I did. I want to thank all of my teammates, all of my teachers, and my coaches throughout all of my years, from middle school to high school, all the way throughout college, as well as the community of everyone who watched me grow through my athletics through all of the years. I want to thank NSU and the foundation for this honor and for putting on this event tonight. And it really was an honor to come back and be able to finish college in my hometown. In 2015, 2016, prior to the Olympic trials, I was living and training in Florida, and coach that I admire was giving me some advice, and he told me that swimming is swimming no matter where you are. Just go where you're going to be happy. And that ultimately led to my decision to come back home and to compete at Northern. And it was really incredible that I had the opportunity to not only swim, but also to run and track and cross country, something that I wanted to do always with my collegiate career. And I want to just congratulate all of the other inductees tonight. And thank you.
Absolutely. Great speech. Great speech. A little bit more impressive than my athletic career resume. Just a little. At this time, I'd like to welcome Kevin Bierke to the stand. He's former head track and field coach at Northern. And Kevin is going to help us induct Sasha Gallagher to the Hall of Fame. So thank you, Kevin.
It's such an honor to be back here and to help introduce Sasha into this Hall of Fame class, along with all the other inductees. Kind of special that she gets to share this stage with an on and off again teammate in Hannah, when she somehow had time between all those laps in the pool to join with a little track and cross country. It's just crazy the number of awards that are listed on here for Sasha. And I just had to ask her like 5 seconds ago, like, didn't you also win the Elite 90 award? I don't see that on the list. And I don't blame whoever put the thing together. There's a lot of awards to try to fit on there. But that one is probably one of the more impressive ones, just having to be the absolute best senior student athlete at the national meet to win that award. You pretty much have to have a 4.0 GPA to win that award and be at the national meet. And, you know, I'm not going to lie, it's kind of unfair in a way. As a cross-country and track athlete like Sasha, she actually has 3 opportunities every year to become an All-American in cross-country, indoor, and outdoor track. But at the same time, that's such a huge commitment. And the fact that she was the Elite 90 award winner after grinding through a full indoor, outdoor track season, fall cross-country season, I don't remember a single time Sasha ever came up to me and said, "Hey, coach, I have to miss practice. I've got this thing going on in the classroom. Like, you're the best student athlete at the national championships." And I never once got a complaint or, "Hey, can I get extra time or do this?" Other than maybe being late to a few practices because of your student teaching. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. And I think that's pretty amazing as a coach to not have any issues like that. The one thing I'll never forget about Sasha is, and you'll probably notice when she comes up to talk, is off the track and off the cross-country course, she is the sweetest, most likable, nicest person you'll ever meet. And I don't know how this happens. You won't notice this today, but when the gun goes off, like, you can literally see explosions in her eyes. And she is the most ferocious competitor I have ever coached that is also like the nicest, most humble. I think that's what made her such a great teammate is, you know, she would make everyone comfortable around her, but man, you don't want to be around her when she's on that starting line. I had to ask before I got asked to do this, like, how long I can talk, because I could talk about Sasha all day long. So I'll just keep it to one little thing. Very early on in Sasha's career, she qualified for her first national meet, her sophomore year of cross country, and kind of example of how level-headed Sasha is. We were doing a pre-meet run the day before the meet in Kentucky, and she just qualified as an individual, so she was just there by herself. So we went jogging together, and I like to explore and learn different places to run and whatnot. So I was looking looking at the map of Louisville, Kentucky, like, oh, it would be a cool place to run while we're here. Like, oh, this looks like a really cool, like, old school cemetery to run through. I know that might sound weird, but that's like a pretty common thing to go running through cemeteries, whatever. So we left the hotel, we went jogging over to the cemetery, and really cool, got in there. And after about 2 miles of jogging through, maybe a mile and a half, some security guard starts yelling at us like, "What are you doing in here? Get out of here, you can't run in here." And there was definitely signs saying you can't run in here. We totally missed those signs. So we got scurried off the cemetery and like, oh, it'll be fine. We'll just, run around here. We'll get back to the hotel. Usually you'd go for like a little 4 or 5 mile shakeout run before the day of a national meet. And we're getting up to about 5.5 miles, and I'm looking at my watch, looking over at Sasha, like, oh, I hope she's not getting nervous. I thought I knew where I was going, but I'm not so sure anymore. I think we get up to about 7 miles, and I still don't know where we're at. And like, Sasha, I'm sorry, but we should probably stop and walk it in from here. We got a big race tomorrow. And she just looks over at me like, okay. He's walk in. A lot of people would have been like, oh my gosh, just freaking out, like, I have a national meet tomorrow, coach. What the heck are you doing to me? She, nothing, just rolled right off her back. Next day, earned her first All-American award. And that's just one little example of the type of person she is and the type of just ferocious athlete she is that you wouldn't really know unless you saw her hit the course. The one other big memory I have of her that also isn't on this list, nor should it not be, is her very last conference championship race. Her senior year, she was racing against a very formidable foe from the University of Mary in the 10K. They run the 10K on Friday and then come back Saturday and run the 5K. And she was racing against this girl from Mary, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good battle, kind of a good primer for the national meet in 2 weeks. And I think she broke this girl from Mary's spirit in the first mile, and by halfway through the race, she had just buried her, and to the point where I think she got pretty darn close to lapping her by the end of that race. This other girl did kind of, I think, like, okay, I got the 5K tomorrow, I better ease back a little bit. There was probably a little bit of that. Well, this girl happened to be the defending national champ in the 5K. So coming back the next day, despite Sasha just putting it all on the line, like the favorite race I've ever seen her run was that 5K the next day, because you knew that Mary girl was coming back for vengeance. She wanted, she's the defending national champ in the 5K, and I tell you what, they traded leads, I think 8 different times during that. It was like literally a boxing match on a track. Like, it was just back and forth and back and forth. And with 300 meters to go, 3/4 of a lap to go, this Mary girl starts putting finally a little bit of a lead on Sasha. She's like, oh, come on, a little bit more. And with as they're coming onto the final home stretch, Sasha found that extra burst of fire in her eyes and comes back on her, ends up losing by just a couple tenths of a second to this girl. She got her revenge at nationals. But even though she didn't win that race, by far the best display of athleticism I've ever seen from Sasha. It was such a fun race. But yeah, those are just a few things I wanted to say about Sasha, and I think we have a video to play here.
Sasha Hovind Gallagher graduated from Northern State University in 2017 with a Bachelor of Science in Education with a major in elementary education and minors in early childhood education, coaching, and pre-K reading. She was an 11-time All-American in track and field and cross country for the Wolves from 2014 to 2017, closing out her career as the most decorated distance runner in school history. In addition to her All-American performances, Gallagher was a two-time NSIC champion in the indoor 5,000-meter run and outdoor 10,000-meter run, and eight-time NSIC All-Conference performer in track and field and 2014 conference champion and three-time NSIC All-Conference performer in cross-country. She earned All-American accolades in cross-country in 2014, finishing in 15th place, 2015 finishing in 13th, and in 2017 taking 10th. On the track, Gallagher was an All-American in 2015, taking 7th in the 5,000-meter run and 8th in the 10,000-meter run at the Outdoor Championships. In 2016, placing 8th in the 5,000-meter run at the Indoor Championships and 4th place in the 10,000-meter run and 9th in the 5,000-meter run at the Outdoor Championships. In 2017, taking 12th in the 5,000-meter run at the Indoor Championships, and in 2018, placing 6th in the 10,000-meter run and 7th in the 5,000-meter at the Outdoor Championships. Gallagher continues to hold school records in the indoor 3,000-meter, indoor 5,000-meter, outdoor 5,000-meter, and outdoor 10,000-meter. She was a COSIDA Academic All-American in 2016 and 2018, earning first-team accolades each season. Gallagher earned multiple NSIC All-Academic honors in her career, in addition to the 2017 and 2018 Miles Brand Award, 2017 Indoor Track and Field Elite 18 Award, and 2018 Cross Country Elite 18 Award. In addition, she was the 2017 recipient of the Northern State Hildred Wolf Award and the NSIC Willis R. Kelly Scholar Athlete Award. That's the highest academic and athletic achievements for both the institution and the league. Sasha and her husband Jacob currently reside in Coralville, Iowa, with their 2-year-old son Apollo. Professionally, she has been teaching preschool for now 5 years, and her husband is currently a postdoctoral research scholar.
Congrats, Sasha.
I know he said this thing should be taller, but he'd probably block me if it was any taller. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame here at Northern. I actually have not been back since I graduated, so it's quite a change seeing everything. It's very neat how much the campus has grown and how much all the buildings have changed and all the renovations that have gone on. I want to thank my family. My parents, I think, were at every single one of my meets. I think they maybe missed one, so that's pretty amazing to have such a good support system. Thank my brothers for believing in me and supporting me. I know they always say that I'm the baby and I'm spoiled because I'm the only girl. So mom and dad came to all my stuff. but no, they were so supportive. I want to thank my coaches because without them, I would not have competed the way I did, would not have been able to win all the awards I was able to win. All my professors who did such a wonderful job being so accommodating when we were on the road so much, helping me in any way that they could, really supporting me. They used to cut out like newspaper articles and bring them to me, which I thought was so cool. Just always there, always supporting. And thank you to the foundation and everyone here tonight. Coach kind of made me think of a memory when he said, like, when I'm on the track, I'm very competitive. Actually reminded me of one of the meets I ran with former teammate Dakota. I had gotten elbowed, and she told me after the race, she's like, I knew as soon as I saw that elbow, you were gone. She's like, there was no way I was catching back up to you. But yes, I really enjoyed my time spent at Northern, and thank you so much.
Our next inductee for this class is Jack Hurley, and so I'm going to make a couple of comments about Jack. And it's funny to me, or interesting to me, how athletics is kind of a small world and a great connector. So as I was preparing to introduce Jack tonight, one of his teammates and friends approached me and said, "Hey, are you introducing him tonight?" I said, "Yes, I am." "Well, how about I do that for you?" "That'd be fine. What's your name?" And he introduced himself, and I said, okay, let me make sure that's okay. But it's just, I think that's kind of cool how athletics, 50 years later, these guys are still connected. So I'll introduce Pat here in just a minute to talk about Jack. But I want to share just a couple of things as I did some just preparing for this. So it's quite an honor, and I think it's very impressive. Jack was an offensive lineman here in the late 60s and early 70s, mostly in the early 70s. But in that era of football, to be honored and remembered and have such an impact on the game as an offensive lineman, I think speaks highly to his impact of the game and just his ability, and not only as a player, but as a teammate and a captain of the team. So I think that's really incredible. One quick stat I'm going to share here that I always like a good stat. So I was looking at some of these things. So over the course of 3 seasons, I think it was, Northern State's offense outscored their opponents 1,032 to 416. 1,032 to 416. I figured you're playing roughly 11 games a year. I did some math. That's an average of 31 to 12. And again, you think, well, 31 to 12, that's not, now you're thinking in terms of 2024 football. The game was a little different then. 31 points was a lot. So pretty incredible stats. So I think that one was really impressive to me. So I think that's a great tribute to Jack and the impact that he had on that team. So I wanted to share that, but at this time I want to bring up Pat Murphy and let him share a few comments about Jack as well. That is a really big notebook of stuff there you got there. What do we? Yeah.
Congratulations to the first Hall of Fame persons that came in and talked to us tonight. And our technology back in the early 70s was more in the form of a scrapbook. And Jack's sister put the scrapbook together. So rather than high-tech presentations of all the things that people accomplished, which were great, we're going to offer this scrapbook that you can purchase from us. And I'm just kidding. But a lot of stats in here were spoken by Nate to some degree. And I was going to use the one about the numbers. And of course, we're in fact-checking times now. I did that same exercise, and it came out to be about 1,200 points were scored by the offensive team that I was a defensive person on, and we gave up about 460 points. So the numbers that were used were right on the same numbers that I had. But we don't have a video of that, but I wanted to share that with everybody. Also, I'm Plan B. I found about the need for someone to introduce Jack this morning on my way driving here from Minneapolis with with one of my teammates. And so I don't have a lot of details and statistics to go over, but I wanted to just share a couple of things besides the points number. In the early 70s, when we played, we were on a team that had 8 straight SDIC titles for Northern in football. And Jack was one of several linemen, offensive linemen, some of which we have others here who are all in the Hall of Fame due to the 1969 team. But Carlton Hupke, Joe Kramer, Greg Saunders, and Leon Bresky, All-American, are here to help Jack be supported. And 2 of those guys, well, one was also an offensive lineman for the Northern Wolves for 4 years. And I say that with some emphasis that offensive linemen had and still do not have statistics that are kept on what they have achieved. Rarely do you see a comment in a sports writer's column about an offensive lineman had 8 pancakes in one game, as an example. So nobody keeps these statistics. So Jack and his peers have a chance for someone to remind everybody that those offensive scores and points in those games, field goals or some safeties by the defense, but only 2 points worth at a time, were really the result of all the linemen that have played for Northern, and Jack is an ideal person to be in the Hall of Fame, along with him being here from the '69 team. So with that, I'm going to miss a few things that I wanted to say, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce Jack without any videos. So, Jack Hurley.
John Jack Hurley graduated from Northern State University in 1973 with a Bachelor of Science in Education with a major in mathematics and a minor in physical education. As a member of the Northern State College football and track and field teams from 1969 to 1972, Hurley started on the offensive line for the Wolves team that went 22-7 in 3 seasons. The Northern offense outscored their opponents 1,032 to 416, leading the district and conference in rushing and passing offense in 1970, 71, and 72. Hurley was honored as a co-captain in the fall of 1972 alongside Pat Murphy. He earned both All-SDIC and All-District First-Team honors in his final 2 seasons on the gridiron. Hurley and his 1969 teammates were inducted into the Northern State Athletics Hall of Fame in the fall of 2018, and he earns the individual honor in the fall of 2024. In addition, the Millbank, South Dakota native qualified for the NAIA National Championships in the discus in both 1971 and 1972. Jack is married to the 1974 Northern State graduate Susan Iverson Hurley. The pair have 2 children, Nicole, who is a CPA living in Sioux Falls, and John, who is a golf instructor affiliated with the Summit Golf School in Montgomery, Texas. Both are now married. Hurley currently resides in O'Neill, Nebraska.
Good evening, everyone. Go Wolves. It's funny, as I was walking up here tonight, I was thinking that we all have a lot in common. You don't know what I'm going to say, and I don't either. But one thing I do know is that this group has a great connection with one thing. We love our sports and the roles that we've all played and helped from those around us. The administrators, the faculty, coaches, parents, teammates, and of course the fans. They're all people that made our experiences what they are, and for their unwavering support and belief in us, thank you. I want to especially mention my wife, Sue, my high school sweetheart, for being at my side all these years. Right now, I want to be by her side. She's battling cancer. She's winning, but she's got a long ways to go. I just want to let everybody know that she's a fighter. She's as courageous as anyone I've ever seen, and I love you. I'm also fortunate enough to have my siblings here, and believe it or not, there's 5 of us, and we were all Northern graduates. So I think that speaks very highly of, I don't know why they followed in my footsteps, but apparently something clicked and they all graduated from Northern. So they're sitting over there at that table. Thank you. The timing of this award, I think, is perfect, because you have no idea how happy I am to get this award, and I'm not getting it posthumously. At my age, that's quite an accomplishment in itself. So thank you to the committee for this recognition. It's a reminder of all the hard work and the dedication that a lot of us in this room have gone through, and it's great to see that kind of acknowledgement at any point in time. For some reason, I've always had a great love for sports, and especially football and track. I've got a little story to tell about my beginning football career because it had a huge impact, I think, on the rest of my playing days. I played for Millbank High School, who, if some of you remember, Coach Raleigh Greeno, they were on a state record of 44 consecutive wins, and I followed that up, and I think we lost one game that first year. But anyhow, my freshman year, I hadn't gone out for organized football until then. And about a week into the practice, the coach comes up to me and says, Jack, he says, I want to talk to you. And I said, okay. I wanted to be a fullback, and I was playing fullback for that first week of school. And he comes up and he says, I want you to report to the line Monday. I said, what? He said, yeah, I want you to become a lineman. And I was kind of shocked because I thought after that first week of practice, I was doing rather well. And so I gathered a little bit of thought, and I asked him, well, why do you want me to do that? And I'll never forget to this day, his comment back to me was, because you don't run in a straight line. Well, I don't know of a lot of football players that ever do run in a straight line for very long and very often. But what that did for me was to instill a fire that I was going to prove him wrong. And so that Monday, I did become a lineman. My dad and I had a big conversation over that weekend about what I should or shouldn't do, and he left me with two thoughts. He said, one, give 100%, and two, don't ever back down. And I think that's pretty much sums up how I played through my high school years and in college. So you just can't take any of that for granted. I want to thank my high school coaches, Gary Breitag, the head football coach, Cal Modine, and Bob Huber, who were instrumental in getting me to this point, because they gave me all the fundamentals. And what it did do is allowed me then to take those fundamentals and consider playing at the next level. So in looking back, those years prepared me for something that to this day has created some really great memories. I was going to become a member of the Northern State Wolves football team. The great Jerry Kramer of the Packers tells a story of how he was struggling when he was in junior high, but ultimately became an NFL Hall of Famer. And one of the coaches in those early days, when he was struggling, gave him this advice. And I think it's great advice whether you're in sports or whether you're just in business or whatever. But he came up with this profound statement, and it's very short. He says, you can if you will. You can if you will. And what really that signifies is a very strong belief in your ability to perform at a high level. So in 1969, here's this gangly kid from Millbank, South Dakota, deciding to try college football. My first day at camp didn't go real well. Duke Iverson, the offensive line coach, came up to me after we had weigh-ins and he says, Hurley, have you been sick? And I said, well, no, but apparently he wanted me to weigh quite a bit more than I did. And I didn't weigh a lot when I came in there. I played first couple of years at about 210 pounds, and in today's level, that's not very stout. But anyhow, as the old saying goes, it's not the size of the dog, but it's the size of the fight in the dog. So I had to show him that hopefully some good things will come in a small package. So to offset my weight, I had to rely on quickness. Now I'll go back to my freshman coach in high school that said I couldn't run in a straight line. We had timed 40-yard dashes that first year, and I think I surprised Coach Iverson because I ran a 4.7 40, which as an offensive lineman that's not too bad. That's probably a little better than average, I would say. But the one thing that I found out in playing college football in those early days was just how much more demanding college football was. You had to be in better shape, you had to be more focused mentally, and that the game happened much faster. But I believed and I endured, and over the next 4 years, I used that quickness to my advantage. Not the biggest, but the quickest, and as I said earlier, I would never back down. You can if you will. I also remember during one of those first practices, Coach Swisher, if you remember anything about him, there's a few in this crowd, I think, that probably remember who Coach Swisher was and the dynamic personality that he had. We had huddled up, and I was in the huddle, kind of bent over listening for the next play of the quarterback, and all of a sudden, here comes this hand right and grabs me by the face mask, turns me around, and he's about this tall, and I'm about like this, and he says, "Hurley, what the hell do you think you're doing? If you block like that, you're going to get our quarterback killed." And Steve can kind of probably relate to that because he was one of the quarterbacks later on. But anyhow, we survived. We had a lot of good times, a lot of good memories. And one of the other things that comes to mind, and he's here tonight, is Carlton Hupke. Back in the day, our blocking technique was a lot different than it is today. We were pretty focused on run blocking, and Coach Iverson really had us focused in on taking our nose and our face mask and putting it right in your sternum. Well, the helmets that we had in those days were probably not anything like they have today, so all of us that first year had bloody noses. And I can remember Hupke in many a games coming back off to the sidelines, and his face was all bloody, but he was ready to go back in there again. And I think all of us kind of decided that we were proud to wear that bandage over our noses because we considered that our badge of honor. So, Carlton, thanks for those ideas. Well, not a starter during my freshman year, I had an opportunity to play quite a bit, and one of the most rewarding things I had experienced at that point was the 1969 team being undefeated. That was something that colleges don't do very often, and it was a great experience. One of the other things that I remember was playing Mankato. We kind of had in our football group this feeling that we were as good as any of the teams in the North Central Conference. We talked about that from time to time, and Mankato was going to be in the conference or was in the conference that year, and so we felt like it was a great honor to take them on and see if we could compete with them. Well, it just so happened that the final play of the ball game, Bill Wilkinson and I, with hardly any time left on the clock, he told Rich Andrzejewski, the quarterback, to run Dave Passion right between us and we're going to score. Well, as time ran out, we scored. So that's a great memory, and it's one of those things where you can if you will, because we believed that we were going to win that ball game. So lots of fun, lots of fun. Later that year, we played for a national championship, which is another great memory. One of the three, I guess, memories that really stick in my mind was Mark Shannon was one of our linebackers. And we'd meet down in the old Commons Den area, which you can't even recognize 50 years later, how much it's improved. But we'd sit there and have lunch, maybe play some cards, talk a little bit before we'd go to practice. And he said, "Jack," he said, "you were one of the nicest guys that I've ever met." And I said, "Well, thanks." I said, "That must be because I had taken after my mom." But he said, "You'd get into that locker room and you'd just change completely. You'd put that chin strap on," and he said, "you became a different animal." And I contribute that back to that desire I had to prove to my freshman coach that I could play football. And Mark said, I can see it in your eyes. And that's the way I played. You can if you will. In closing, I want to acknowledge just a couple of things. One is the education that I received here at Northern. As someone mentioned earlier, the professors were understanding when we had to be gone, and track I had to be gone quite a bit, and they were always understanding in how we could get assignments turned in and all of those kinds of things. And they really contributed to all of the successes that I've had after graduation in life. So I want to thank them for that. Other thing I want to thank is Coach Kretschmann, who wanted to be here tonight but under some personal circumstances he was not able to attend, and our line coach, Coach Duke Iverson, for the belief that they had in me. And finally, and this I think to me is the most important thing, is relationships. We had a very special bond with the team that was recruited in 1969 and probably 70 and 71, because we had a great ride during those years. That bond remains even stronger probably today. No matter how many wins I had, I remember our teammates, the jokes, the laughter, and the life lessons that we shared during the good and the bad. And thank God there weren't too many bad ones. But nothing of significance in life is ever accomplished as an individual. Nobody individually wins a game or championships. The team does. Here at Northern, during my playing days, it was always about we and us, not about me or mine. Today, that bond remains as one of the most gratifying experiences at Northern. How a bunch of recruits back in 1969 and over the next few years could come together and simply, very simply, want to play football. Whether it was the bloodied nose of Carlton Hupke, or the never quit mindset of a Bill Wilkinson, or the hard-nosed running of Dave Pastion. And there's so many other examples that I could cite that made those years so much fun. And unbeknownst at the time, we didn't really understand what we were creating, but I think we all value that today. Nick Saban said, when the best players on your team are the best people on your team, you have a great opportunity to create great unity. I would not be standing here today if it were not for that unity and for those teammates. Thank you again for the great honor. And remember, you can, if you will, go Wolves.
Congrats, Jack. Great comments there. Even from your playing days, those two things you said about give 100% and never back down, I think those things, it's amazing how those words and those sentiments apply then and throughout time and now today. And I think those are things that we tell our student athletes now, and maybe in a bit different way, but the message is the same. Don't give in, give 100%, good things will happen. So congrats again. Our next Hall of Fame inductees are going to be introduced by our current wrestling coach, Rocky Burkett. So please help me welcome Rocky to the podium to introduce our 84-85 wrestling team.
All right, thanks, Nate. I'll kind of keep my comments short, and I'll let Coach tell all the stories about these guys. But, one of the things when I came to Northern almost 20 years ago as a grad assistant, I got a chance to be around a lot of great coaches, and you see legends like Coach Kretschmann, Coach Meyer, Coach Fred, Coach Olson, and there was one guy that everyone always talked about too, Coach Fran Hummel. And as I'm kind of a history guy, so I'm going through the Northern scrapbooks. I'm seeing this guy with a pretty awesome mustache, which he still rocks, you know. And I'm walking through our wrestling room, and I see our banners with all these guys with All-American spots. And you know, you look in the 80s when Coach Hummel was there, and you start seeing the guys just, you know, racking up names on the All-American board in our room, and you realize, hey, there was something pretty special here. And the one great thing about those teams, you walk by our trophy case down there, and you'll see that those guys got third in the country back in the NAIA in 84, 85, which was 40 years ago. You never heard, as you talk to those guys from that area, you never heard them say, hey, they come to Northern, you never hear them say, hey, where's our trophy at? It would always be the stories that they talk about and the journey that they had there and the friends and the memories they made. And it's pretty special. You think about that. It's not always about the end thing, but the end product, but the journey along the way and how you got there and how you know, people impact you. And it's pretty awesome to see the impact that Northern State Wrestling has had and Coach Hummel and these guys have had across just the state of South Dakota, and all the coaches that are out there coaching high school, officiating, all the guys that are in this group that are here tonight that are in the Hall of Fame. And just the fact that we have almost 30 guys from that team that are here, I think it shows the impact that they had on each other and that Coach Hummel had on them as well. So I'm going to let them cut to the video here, and you can learn a little bit more about these guys.
The 1984 and 85 wrestling team came off a losing season in 83 and 84 to go 10-3 in dual competition. They finished as the South Dakota Intercollegiate Conference runner-up and won the District 12 championship under the direction of head coach Fran Hummel. The Wolves qualified 10 for the NAIA National Tournament and finished third as a team in large part to 4 All-American performances by Dave Harvey, Doyle Everson, Blaine McCants, and Jim Fryer. Harvey won the 118-pound national championship, while Everson and McCants took second at 126 pounds and 190 pounds respectively, and Fryer finished third in the heavyweight bracket. All 4 recorded 30-plus win seasons, and Everson and Harvey closed out their collegiate careers as just 2 of 11 Wolves in program history to record 100 career wins. Hummel was honored by multiple outlets as the South Dakota Sports Writers Coach of the Year, NIC Coach of the Year, District 12 Coach of the Year, and NAIA National Coach of the Year. Hummel, Harvey, Eddie Clark, and Everson were inducted into the Northern State Athletics Hall of Fame as individual honorees in 2001, 2006, 2016, and 2022. Members of the 1984 and 85 wrestling team include Todd Biershank, Ryan Bresky, Ryan Bunton, Eddie Clark, Don Davidson, Rich Eggsgard, Doyle Everson, Brad Feist, Todd Ford, Jim Fryer, Leo Gannon, Kent Hagan, Scott Hagan, Dave Harvey, Gary Harris, Richard Huff, Mike Johnson, Dale Kistner, Neil Lehammer, Kurt Mack, Tony Mallinger, Blaine McCants, Randy Conold, Brad Ramey, Jeff Struble, Tim Taggart, John Trevette, Todd Weber, Tim Wise, and Mike Ray.
Coach, you had a big impact on those guys. There's a lot of good mustaches on those video clips. But please help me welcome Coach Fran Hummel up to the podium.
Well, thank you very much. It's a lot of fun having these guys back. It's been a long time. Some of them it's 40 years since I've seen some of these guys. I'd like to thank Zach and Coach. Rocky always does such a great job. I'm really, really happy with the program right now and the way the program's going. Does an outstanding job with the wrestling team. So he was a great, great coach to have. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee. Zach, your group did a great job, and I'd especially like to thank Kaylee. Where's Kaylee? She worked with all of us. I tell you, she's a good one. Got to keep her around. We we had a block set at one of the hotels, and she even went to bat for us and got $100 knocked off one of her eights for one of the wrestlers. I mean, come on, who can do that for the alumni? So it was really a great group that got inducted tonight. I was a grad student when Jack was an offensive lineman, and even as a 22 or 23-year-old grad student, I could tell this was one of the best ones on that offensive line. That guy was solid. There was no way I would be on the defensive side and go against him. He was that good. I'd like to introduce a couple of special people before I make a few comments. My wife, Colleen, 51 years. Yep, 51 years. Any of you that coach, you probably, your coaches' wives are pretty special. They're home a lot, and they have to take care of the family while you're gone, and welcome you with open arms when you come back. Sometimes it's a good feeling. You know, you're down because you got beat, or they're happy. She's always been there. She's always had my back, and it's been great to come home to at night. I also like to introduce my daughter, Jody, our youngest daughter, and her husband, Kyle. They flew up here from Austin, Texas to be with us. And when Jody was 2 and 3, some of these wrestlers remember her. She had a little cheerleading outfit and her pom-poms, and she was on the side of the mat cheering away. So both our daughters grew up on the side of a wrestling mat. Our oldest daughter, Jill, could not be here. She's an art teacher in Florida, Port Charlotte, and they got hit with the surge. And last week they had 2.5 feet in their condo. So they're living with friends right now and trying to get their place dried out. Fortunately, they didn't lose their vehicles. She has a Jeep and he has a pickup, and they were high enough on a hill to avoid getting hurt, but they lost all their appliances. And last week they spent the whole week ripping off 4 feet of the bottom sheetrock in their entire condo and hauling all their furniture out to the street. So they live in Punta Gorda, and recently we moved to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We were in Lee Summit, Missouri for 12 years. We retired there and just recently moved to Sioux Falls, and we're really glad to be back in South Dakota. It's been a good feeling. Man, I don't miss that traffic at all from Kansas. And the one thing, Sioux Falls, I think, is a clean city. It's really nice to come home where you don't see trash on all the roadsides and all that. So I'd also like to say thanks to Dr. Kretschmann. I know he took a chance in '78 when I got hired. Here's this young guy from Hague, North Dakota. What does he know about wrestling and guiding a wrestling team? It took over after Don Woods. I was here all of the 80s, part of the 90s, and we had a great run. It was a great time, and Dr. Kretschmann, very supportive, came to many, many matches. And he even lined up a parade. When we were third at Jamestown, we were 10 miles out of town, and we could see cars lining up on 281. He lined it all up. We had a parade coming home. We felt like celebrities. It was a great, great thing. Two guys that kind of get overlooked, and they're in the program. You might think they were wrestlers, Todd Ford and Jeff Struble. Todd, will you stand up? And I think he's from Mobridge, South Dakota. And Jeff Struble. Where's Strubes? Come on, Strubes. Yes. Todd was one of those, he got hurt when we wrestled Augustana, and then he came back and he helped me coach, and then he was a grad student and helped me coach. And I think the wrestlers on this team would say he had a huge impact on our success. They're all nodding. He was just great to have in the room with these guys. And Strubes, if the mat needed cleaning, all I had to do was tell Strubes. If the mat needed moving, all I had to do was tell Jeff. 4 years that guy gave us, and he was a good one. Just a great, great student manager. It was kind of fun coaching these guys, but, you know, there were ups and downs, just like every team. When you got 30 on the team, some were great students. Man, they got straight A's. And then we had some that didn't want to go to class. We had to put them on the right track. But it's really, really been a lot of fun talking to them after 40 years and seeing, you know, we've got guys that one's a CPA, won 7 state championships in the state of Wyoming in wrestling. Can you believe that? 7 state championships. We've got an anesthesiologist. We have guys that have big businesses. We have successful farmers. And as Jack said, it all kind of depends on how you turn out once you leave the college, you know, the kind of impact. And they really turned out, I think, just a lot to be proud of. They were great wrestlers, but they also liked each other. You know, you can talk about college parties and all that stuff, but they hung together, and a lot of these guys stayed in touch after they left school. I know when we were in Arizona, we wintered there for 6 or 7 years. we'd get together and play golf, and these guys still, talk Northern wrestling just like, hey, you remember that match we had? And you remember this, remember that? Really, really a close bunch. I'm getting there, Colleen. I'm not going to be that much longer. Okay. This team wrestled quite well. And the 85-86 team was another team that was pretty good, but these guys kind of set the tone. We went to Jamestown, and the thing I remember, we sent them home for spring break, and we had a blizzard, and it was a big snowstorm. We had guys all over the state that were at home, and I was nervous as a cat in a cage because we couldn't practice. And, wrestlers, they go home to eat, and they come back fat, and I'm getting ready to take them to a national tournament, and these guys are all at home, and I can't work them. Well, as it turned out, we got them all back on a Wednesday, and we left for the national tournament. Luckily, it was in Jamestown, which wasn't that far away. We had guys, they were on weight, and they were energetic. The thing I remember, they had more energy because Hummel didn't run them for 2 or 3 days before the tournament. They were the best tournament team we ever had. They came to wrestle, and they kicked butt. But I got a kind of funny story about a couple of these guys. Blaine McCann's, I think everybody, when I call, they said, is Blaine McCann's coming? Is Blaine McCann's coming? Because their stories are about Blaine McCann's. I remember we went to the Cougar Invite up in Minnesota. It's a big tournament. And, these guys like Harb and these guys, a half an hour before, they're running jacks, they're bumping into each other, they're sparring. Hey, it's Blaine McCants on deck, mat 2. Blaine McCants on deck, mat 2. Where in the hell is McCants at? Nobody knows. Oh, he's sleeping over in the bleachers. Hey, somebody go get McCants. He's got to wrestle next. I'm nervous. Here comes McCants. Takes his chew out of his mouth. Hey, you're up next. Oh, okay. I'm ready. That's all he did. He rolled out his neck and he went out and he kicked butt. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Blaine is the only guy that we had on the team. We would stop for burgers or something afterwards. He had his long trench coat on. I'm the bus driver. He got a free meal every time we went on a trip. He was the bus driver. Blaine, you're not going to deny that, are you? No? Yeah, he got a lot of free meals pretending he was the bus driver. So, one more good story about Blaine is we go to the Bison Open, which is big. And if any of you have been in wrestling, I think Rocky would tell you that's a big tournament. There's Division I, Division II, and here's little old Northern State coming up. We had a pretty good team, and all of a sudden, in walks this guy. He has not been within our program for 3 or 4 years. It's Blaine McCants. They could enter as an open. He walks in. Blaine, are you going to wrestle? Yeah, coach, I'm ready to go. He got runner-up in that tournament, hadn't wrestled competitively for 4 years, and got runner-up. Seriously. He was wrestling guys, and that's the kind of wrestler he was. That's the kind of guy we had on the team. Let me tell you, I'm about ready. I would like to have the 26 guys that are coming up here that are being inducted. It's not about me. It's about the team. These guys made this team, not Fran Hummel. They were good for each other. Would you all come up, and I'll pass the mic. I want them to tell you their name, and I want you to tell you where you're living now. And I'd say Todd Weber, Faulkton, South Dakota, and now I live in Hartford, South Dakota. That's all I want. Okay, come on up, guys. All 26 of you. Thank you. Come on, don't be bashful. You weren't bashful when you were wrestling. Come on up. Here they come. Trying to keep these guys in line and eligible was a full-time job. But no, all kidding aside, they were a great bunch. Come on, you about got them all up here. I'm just totally impressed how many guys made the effort to come back. Totally impressed. Way to go, guys. Okay. Coach, we'll hand you your award when you're done, and you can go back to your seat. I want to pass the mic to the next wrestler. Okay, thanks.
Name? Okay. Jeff Struble, I'm from Rapid City,
and I live in Apache Junction, Arizona now.
Richard Huff, Sisseton, South Dakota, and still Sisseton, South Dakota.
I'm John Trevitt. I'm from Millbank, South Dakota. And real quick, Jack, actually Bob Huber was my coach too. And I was born in 1964, so. I'm the bus driver.
I'm Blaine McCants, and I've got to say, this guy has a heart that made us want to wrestle. Anybody that he did, he brought your heart into the wrestling room, and I got to give him all the respect for that, for being my coach.
Doyle Leverson. I was one of them the week before the Nationals, stuck down in Sioux Falls. Called, said, Coach, they haven't opened the interstate. I'm in Sioux Falls. He says, well, can you run? I said, no, the sidewalks aren't plowed or shoveled yet. Do you have a stationary bike you can ride? I said, I'll find one. But anyway, he said, when I was talking to Coach earlier, he said, just tell them what your weight class you were. I said, they won't believe that I wrestled 118 or 126. So I always tell people, I said, I'm one digit away from where I wrestled in college. The 100 digit.
Dave Harvey, Miller, South Dakota, currently in Phoenix. Go Jane Harvey.
Gary Harris, Chamberlain, South Dakota, still in Chamberlain.
Tony Mallinger, I went to West Central High School from Humble, South Dakota. Now I'm in Lake Havasu City, Arizona.
Don Davidson, Mobridge, South Dakota, reside in Chandler, Arizona. Love you, Coach.
Hi, everybody. Dale Kistner. I am from Rockham, South Dakota. Went to high school in Faulkton, South Dakota. I now live in a small town called Capulan in New Mexico. And thanks, Coach.
Thanks for being here. Hey, your ward.
Brad Ramey, Chamberlain, South Dakota, and I'm now in Yankton, South Dakota.
Thank you, Brad. Thanks for being here.
Glenn Melcher, Aberdeen, South Dakota, now in Eagan, Minnesota. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for being here.
I'm Jim Fryer. I'm from Aberdeen, and I reside in Aberdeen now as well. I just want to say this coach is one of the best men I've ever met in my life. We still talk quite often. And I also want to give a shout out to Lee Wolf, who coached Glenn and these two gentlemen here as well. So he's got 4 people on this team, which is pretty outstanding. So thank you all for being here. Have a great year.
Thank you, Jim. Congratulations.
Kurt Mack, also from Aberdeen, and I currently live in West Salem, Wisconsin.
Good. Thank you for being here.
Randy Conold from Aberdeen. Live in Watertown now. Thank you.
Congratulations.
My name is Neil Lahammer. I'm the 5th consecutive Aberdeen Central Golden Eagle, class of '84, and I live in Red Wing, Minnesota.
And just finished 25 years of teaching elementary?
I actually am Todd Weber from Faulkton, South Dakota, and I now live in Hartford, South Dakota. This man was the glue that kept this all together. He led a lot of us, made a lot of us into men. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Johnson from DeSmet, South Dakota. I am back in DeSmet, South Dakota, and I'd just like to thank the coach for believing in all of us so that we could believe in ourselves too.
Ryan Brisky from Waubay, South Dakota, and still in Waubay, South Dakota. Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Tim Weiss from Parkston, South Dakota, and I'm currently right here in Aberdeen. So thanks to everybody for coming.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Mike Gray, I'm from Kingsburg, Colorado, and is in DeBerry, Texas now. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for being here.
Leo Gannon, I'm from Salem, South Dakota, and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you for everybody, and thanks, Coach.
You're welcome. Leo. Thanks for being here.
I'm Ken Hagan from Webster, South Dakota, now Brookings, South Dakota.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Scott Hagan from Sisseton, South Dakota, residing in Rapid City.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach. Yep, thank you.
Eddie Clark from Spearfish, South Dakota. I now live in Star Valley, Wyoming.
He's the guy with all the state championships and is in the Hall of Fame.
Todd Ford, Mobridge, South Dakota. Currently living in Chandler, Arizona, Director of Operations at Arizona State University.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, so I'm glad they were, as you can see, I'm pretty proud of these guys. I want them to realize that they were part of the team and they made the team for what it is. You know, Rocky will tell you this. I think we had some better battles in the wrestling room in wrestle-offs than some of these guys had at matches. And that's what made this team as good as it was. So I want to thank all of you for being here. I know these things sometimes get, dragged out a little bit, but bottom line is, wrestlers, I'm glad you came back. Thanks for inviting us, and congratulations to all the other inductees. I appreciate it. I had a great time, and I'm going to have a lot of fun tomorrow and tonight. So have a good one.
Thanks, Coach. Rocky, I don't know if I want to be around those guys later. When you're around wrestlers, usually somebody's getting head slapped or something else. But our next award is the Kretschmann Coaching Award. This is actually named after Jim Kretschmann. He's a former NSU athlete, longtime head coach, athletic director. Happens to be my father-in-law. Makes this even more special for me. But this award is given to a Northern alum that has exhibited the characteristics shown by Coach Kretschmann during his career. Competitiveness, discipline, respect for the game, diligence, hard work, all the things you think of when you think of Coach Kretschmann. So at this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to NSU Athletic Director Nate Davis, who's going to introduce the Kretschmann Coaching Award recipient.
All right. Thank you, Zach. It's an honor to get to give this award out every year. It's, as I've spent more and more time at Northern and been here and learned more about Coach Kretschmann and who he is and what he stood for and all that. This award is really special, and as Zach mentioned, it's just a fun award to give out every year, and just the meaning of it is really special. So a couple of comments about our recipient this year. So, as our committee reviews nominees for the Hall of Fame class each year, it's always fun to learn about these individuals and then decide who we're going to give it to. And I'm always amazed at how the recipients embody the true spirit of the award and the model and the example that Coach Kretschmann showed throughout his career. Each year we select a recipient, and as we learn more about them and get into their bios, the coaching success always stands out, but how they develop young people and help them achieve their goals is just remarkable to me. And so we talk about that in our program today, that our top goal and our top priority is to prepare young people for success when they leave Northern State. And I think that these recipients year in and year out always embody that. And so as the video plays here in just a moment, you'll hear some incredible accomplishments throughout the career, throughout Coach Docker's career. But what stats and wins never tell you is the story of the impact on people. And so, Coach Docker, thank you for living that out throughout your career. And we're excited to get to celebrate you tonight and the things that you've done for a job well done throughout the course of your career and throughout the state of South Dakota. So congratulations, and we'll watch this video here.
Francis Zucker graduated from Northern State College in 1961 with a Bachelor of Science in Education with a major in Health and Physical Education. In 1972, he returned to NSC to complete his master's degree and served as a graduate assistant at Northern State under the direction of legendary coach Bob Wachs. Zucker spent his professional career as a teacher and football and basketball coach at high schools across South Dakota. He led the boys' basketball programs at Fort Pierre, Eagle Butte, Gettysburg, and Roncalli, posting a career record of 250 wins to just 95 losses. He led Roncalli to the South Dakota State A Basketball Championship in 1975, the first parochial school and smallest school in the division to ever win a state title. On the gridiron, his teams from Fort Pierre, Gettysburg, and Roncalli were 51 and 21 overall. Zucker's honors throughout the years include the 1975 National Association of Basketball Coaches Achievement Award, 1975 South Dakota Sports Writers High School Coach of the Year, 1998 Lakota Invitational Community Award, and induction into the South Dakota High School Coaches Hall of Fame in the year 2009. Following his coaching career, he continued his passion for athletics as a high school official for both basketball and football in western South Dakota. He is also an Army veteran, having been drafted shortly into his initial coaching job at Fort Pierre. Francis Zucker's late wife, Geraldine Payne Zucker, was also a Northern State College graduate, earning an education degree. They have 4 children: Jeff Zucker, MD, in Phoenix, Arizona; Lisa Zucker, MD, in Orlando, Florida; Scott Zucker, MFA, in Chicago, Illinois; and Stacy Zucker Garheda, RPH, in El Paso, Texas. He has 7 grandchildren as well. His siblings include Bill, Sylvester, Clarence, James, and Mary Jean, all attended NSC. Bill is a 1976 member of the Northern State Athletics Hall of Fame.
If you would, please help me welcome our 2024 Kretschmann Coaching Award recipient, Francis Zucker.
Well, I want to thank the alumni for this wonderful banquet, and I'm proud to be part of it. And my families, most of them are here, and tables 10, 11, 12, 13. So, my brother Bill is by far the oldest. He's 94. Stand up, Bill. He's going to be 95 by 2 weeks. And he drove here by himself from Eureka, South Dakota. So anyway, he's doing quite well. And his son Doug is right there with him, keeping an eye on him, just like I have to too. Anyway, I was lucky, I guess, or fortunate, or one or the other, start my coaching career right out of college. And I was at Fort Pierre there 2 years as head basketball and head football. And we were 22-2 each year. And the second year I was at Fort Pierre, we played Alexander in the region. And they had Mel and John Thomas, who played for South Dakota State after that. Alexander won the state the year before, and we upset them 51-50. It kept them out of they were supposed to, or were recognized to be the new champions for 2 years in a row, but it didn't work out. But we didn't make it to the state. I don't know. I have all kinds of excuses, but I know you don't want to hear them. So anyway, there was some other periods in my coaching career that we're kind of proud of. We'll jump forward to 1966, and I was coaching at Cheyenne Eagle Butte. And my brother Jim he was a CEB Brave. We were the Eagle Butte Eagles in Eagle Butte before the agency came to Eagle Butte in 1960, when they flooded out the agency down by the river, and they moved them all to Eagle Butte. And actually, it kind of saved Eagle Butte and Dupree, those small towns at that time. And now they're thriving pretty good because the government money is pretty good, so it keeps everybody going. But anyway, 1966, some of you remember, right? it was the big snowstorm, and it was a terrible storm. Thousands of livestock and wild animals perished. Anyway, they had to postpone the region that day for that week. And so we ended up going to Aberdeen on Monday, the week of the state tournament. And snowplows couldn't get us here. They had to have rotaries to get us through the roads. And anyway, we played 2 games in one day on Monday, same week of the state tournament. And we played Oneida. They were rated number 2 in the state. We won that game. And we played Eureka, was rated number 1, and we won that game. We go to the state tournament. And I really didn't expect it. It was a big surprise for me, but I took it anyway. I was glad to. Anyway, see, where was I now? We went state. Oh, yeah. So anyway, next Tuesday, we pack up back to Eagle Butte, 180 miles. The next day, we pack up, headed for Sioux Falls, 300 miles. And the next day, we had played the first game in the state tournament. And of course, we had to play, we ended up 6, but we still got to play 3 games. So I figured out we played 5 games in 6 days. And I was kind of mad at my team, didn't perform very well. But then I got to thinking, you know, they played 2 games in one day, all that traveling, and their gas tanks were pretty empty at that time, so I had to forgive them. But anyway, then in 1970 was another good year. I went to Gettysburg in '66. In 1970, I took the boys' basketball team to the state tournament. But between '66 and I was head basketball coach, and 5 years I was head football coach with basketball. And then in '72, it was mentioned here, I was a graduate assistant. And it was mentioned walks, but Coach Kretschmann was also the football coach, and I was assistant coach. Well, I stood around a lot, but I learned a lot. But he was a great coach, great teacher. So I learned a lot there. And then I went back to Eagle Butte one year, and then I got hired at Roncalli. And I called up about the job, and he called back and said, "You got the job." So I got there. I never had an interview or anything. I got there. So I found out I was head football, head basketball, I was assistant track, athletic director, and taught South Dakota history. And see, what else? Well, anyway, those parochial schools have a good way of getting their money's worth out of you. So anyway, anyway, the biggie was 1975. You saw the pictures of us. And my daughter was my cheerleader. She was about 4 years old then, you know, that one picture. And she couldn't make it, though, this time. Anyway, so that was another great event in my coaching career. And just last month, Roncalli had an induction Hall of Fame, the 1975 basketball team. So I got to be there for that, too. So I'm on a roll. I get to be here. I got to be there. So anyway, one other thing about Bill Zocker over there, he came from Eagle Butte, and people say, where in the hell is Eagle Butte? Never heard of it, West River, you know. And he made South Dakota State pup team. They had the freshman pup team then. And he wasn't on a scholarship, and they didn't, he said they didn't seem to know me very well. So that's when he quit and then started playing independent basketball. And then somebody mentioned that they saw this Zocker boy out there, was a pretty good basketball player, so he got him to go to Northern, and he was a leading scorer for 2 years in an induction Hall of Fame in 1976 here at basketball. So anyway, but to finish the story, there was 5 Zockers graduated from Northern. They had 4 more teachers, and Bill was one, and myself, my sister Mary Jean over there, and her husband. And her husband, Roger Prunty, was a coach and an educator also. So And my brother Jim was a CPA guy. Anyway, so, and then I had two of my friends from Eagle Butte also graduate from Northern, and the only reason they did is because they followed Bill. We followed Bill, and he got everybody started going to Northern from Eagle Butte. So I guess that's about all I have to say, but I had the last 2 years I went back to Eagle Butte and I was coaching at Cheyenne Eagle Butte. So anyway, I had a good career, and I found out that I had a lot of things good about me that I didn't know, and going to come to coaching. So I think I had some help somewhere out. Anyway, that's all, and I appreciate being here, and I have a good time so far, and so that's it. And, yeah.
We'll bring this back again. It's really heavy. We'll bring it back.
Okay, all right.
Okay, we have 2 awards remaining this evening. These are our Distinguished Alumni Awards that are, here again, we have a Distinguished Alumni Committee that works through the NSU Foundation to award these. And we have a lot of different award options that we look at every year. And the next recipient we have is Ron Rivet. And he honestly falls into about 5 different categories that we have as far as recognizing our alumni. And as you'll see in the video that they'll show in a minute, his history is the history of Aberdeen. It's the businesses that he started have created wealth, businesses, entrepreneurs, jobs throughout Aberdeen that when you talk to the number of people that owe their livelihood and their family and everything to working with Ron Rivet over the years, it's absolutely amazing, the number of people that he has impacted in the community. Ron is receiving the Distinguished Alumni and the Philanthropist Award. Ron passed away in December of 2023. I think the video clip will share Ron's achievements, but his generous support of Northern and others represent the servant leader life that he really lived. Here's the video on Ron.
Ron Rivet was a charismatic leader, innovator, and entrepreneur, most well known as co-founder of the Super 8 Motel and My Place hotel chains. Born August 2, 1940, Ron was a lifelong resident of Aberdeen, South Dakota. Ron graduated from Central High School back in 1958 and went on to attend what was then Northern State Teachers College in Aberdeen, where he graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration in 1963. Back in 1990, Northern State University awarded Ron an honorary doctorate of human letters for his contributions to the university and the Aberdeen community. After graduating college, Ron began his career in banking at First National Bank of Aberdeen, which of course later became Northwest Bank, working in the loan department and eventually taking a position in the trust department. In the latter of his 9 years at the bank, Ron moonlighted in residential construction. A self-taught independent builder, Ron built his first home and went on to build several more homes and duplexes on the north side of Aberdeen. Upon leaving the bank in 1972, Ron pursued a career in the insurance business, obtaining a general agency in South Dakota with National Guardian Life Insurance Company. During an insurance sales call in 1973, entrepreneur and attorney Dennis Brown shared with Ron the challenges he was facing in launching a motel franchise comprised of existing mom-and-pop motels around the state of South Dakota. Upon Ron's suggestion to focus on building new motels, Dennis and Ron partnered to create Super 8 Motels Incorporated. After opening the first Super 8 motel in Aberdeen in 1974, Ron and Dennis continued to grow the company through corporately owned and franchised units. Under Ron's executive leadership, Super 8 Motels developed into a vertically integrated enterprise comprised of construction, development, hotel management, product procurement, aviation, and technology-focused business units. After 20 years of rapid expansion, Super 8 Motels Incorporated had grown to over 1,000 franchise locations across the country and Canada. In 1993, Ron sold the Super 8 franchise system, but continued as a hotel developer, builder, and investor for the remainder of his life. In 2012, Ron leveraged his experience in launching and growing a hotel chain when he partnered with his grandson Ryan Rivet in founding a new hotel franchise system, My Place Hotels, focusing on the extended stay hotel segment. Today, with over 100 franchises in the system, My Place continues to expand across the country. Aside from his drive and tenacity in business, Ron was an avid pilot, outdoorsman, farmer, and rancher. Ron and his wife Sharon traveled the world for business and pleasure, always experiencing life in a big way. Ron held his hometown and state in the highest regard, and throughout his successful career and life, he valued opportunities to promote and support the people and institutions that he loved.
Please help me welcome Ron's grandson, Ryan Rivet, to the podium to accept the award.
It's a lot of really tough acts to follow. Thanks, Zach. You could have put me at the front. It's an honor to be up here and hold something that would have been exceptionally valued to Ron. Those of us who knew him well knew that there were a lot of things that he accomplished and experienced and held with high regard, but very few things that he held in as high a regard as his hometown and his education and education in general. All of us were very, very much, I don't know if pushed is the right word, but expected to attend college, and if it was NSU, that was even better. And so, you know, accomplishing a lot, experiencing a lot meant a lot to Ron, but coming back home to Aberdeen, coming back home to the place and the people that meant so much, and having the opportunity to give back to the place and the people that meant so much to him was a lifelong cherishing thing for Ron. So it's great to be here amongst a group of people who have accomplished a lot in their lives, and you know, I'm just the guy who drew the straw to get up and say something. So thanks so much for the honor and the award, and we really appreciate everything that Northern's done for the community, and look forward to the opportunity to continue to give back to Northern for a lot of years in the future. Thanks.
Okay, we have one award left this evening, and this is going to be our Gold Award. Gold stands for Graduate of the Last Decade. This award is given to an NSU alum who has distinguished themselves through personal success, civic contributions, while bringing a sense of pride to the college community. Our recipient this evening is Doug Wiedela. This is actually a family affair, as Doug's father, Greg, is also a distinguished alum from Northern. We'll watch the video.
Douglas Wiedela, a Northern State University alumnus, has made significant strides in the field of humanitarian assistance, earning him the Graduate of the Last Decade Award at this year's Distinguished Alumni and Hall of Fame banquet. Graduating from Northern State in 2015 with a Bachelor of Science in Finance and Economics with a minor in agribusiness, Douglas furthered his education with a Master of Liberal Arts in Management from Harvard University in 2023 and a Certificate of Nonprofit Management from Harvard Extension School in 2019. His career with the United States Agency for International Development showcases his dedication to humanitarian aid. Currently, he leads the Iraq Emergency Response Team for the Bureau of Humanitarian Assistance, managing program staff and representing the USAID BHA Iraq Field Team. Previously, he coordinated the Ukraine Humanitarian Response Program and held roles such as Junior Disaster Operations Specialist and Acting Senior Humanitarian Assistance Officer. His responsibilities included managing a $116 million portfolio for Iraq and COVID-19 response, and overseeing a $20 million third-party monitoring contract demonstrating leadership in global humanitarian efforts. Beginning his career as a senior program grants assistant at USAID, he managed grant proposals and liaised with field counterparts, volunteer work with Habitat for Humanity, and an internship with the U.S. Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee, further highlighting his commitment to public service. Proficient in grants and project management, he holds numerous certifications and has completed extensive training in federal grants management, fraud detection, and program cycle management. His leadership skills are evident in his ability to build teams, resolve conflicts, and mentor colleagues. Douglas currently resides in McLean, Virginia. He remains dedicated to humanitarian causes, leveraging his education and experience to make a lasting impact on global humanitarian efforts. Douglas Wiedela's achievements reflect the values of Northern State University and exemplify the potential of its graduates to affect positive change worldwide.
Once again, my resume does not stack up, so thank you, Doug. So, Doug, please come to the podium.
Oh no, my speech just, all right, it's back. Guys, I'm so nervous to be up here in front of everybody, but also deeply honored. I have a little speech that I'll read for everybody. And again, it's just such an honor to be up here and to receive this award. I really feel immensely grateful to be recognized in this way. Northern has been a cornerstone of my journey, and I stand here today not just as an individual, but as someone shaped by this incredible community. I wasn't always sure where my path would take me. I started at a big school that wasn't the right fit, but when I found my way to Northern, everything changed. Although I grew up abroad, moving every 3 or 4 years, I'm from Frederick, South Dakota. It's my home and where my roots are. Back in 2011, when I started school here at Northern, I was happy to be back home. During my time at Northern, whether it was time spent at Dakota Hall or at the Barnett Center, afternoons with my grandmothers at Frederick Bar, or the countless hours that I poured into student clubs, this place allowed me to thrive. Looking back, I realized Northern's small class sizes and supportive teachers really gave me the confidence to try new things. It was here that I started Northern Jiu-Jitsu, a student club that began as an idea and grew into something more. We created a schedule with many different classes, and opened it to the community. It wasn't just about learning the art of jiu-jitsu or fitness. It was about organizing, managing people, and building something from the ground up. Alongside my classmate Yair, I also co-founded Alpha Stones, a small business born in our dorms where we made bracelets and jewelry. When he initially approached me with the idea to make jewelry, I was confused. Make jewelry? I don't know anything about fashion. But we consulted with business professors here, worked with marketing and graphic design students to bring this business to life, and it flourished. These experiences taught me not just about business schools, but how to lead and collaborate. Also, internships here gave me a chance to work in amazing places like the Senate Banking and Housing Committee for the South Dakota Senator. I also learned about how to help people access housing in Aberdeen through Habitat for Humanity, and met a wonderful group of people at Northwestern Mutual who taught me about camaraderie. These experiences helped me clarify my purpose and discover my passion for international humanitarian work. Since graduating, no matter where I've been, the lessons I've learned at Northern were always with me. How to welcome diversity, how to be part of a community, and how to use my skills to help others. Today I work for the United States Agency for International Development in the Humanitarian Assistance and Disaster Relief Office. In this role for the past decade, I've had the privilege of providing life-saving aid, food, water, shelter, and healthcare to some of the most vulnerable people. I've worked on the Yemen response, where malnourished children and starving people face really unimaginable hardships due to war. I've worked in post-ISIS Iraq, where healthcare and shelter is needed to help Iraqis rebuild after enduring ISIS atrocities. I've helped Syrians in refugee camps rebuild livelihoods after being displaced from the Syrian civil war. This summer, when I was in Iraq, I visited with a community of Yazidis residing in a displacement camp, still hoping and trying to return to their homes. Our support to these vulnerable people really gives them hope. I've witnessed firsthand the war in Ukraine and the essential role that we play in keeping hospitals running, stocked with medicine and power through freezing winters. You all know a little something about cold winters, don't you? And soon I'll be headed to Gaza to continue the work on the crisis that has so far killed over 40,000 people and displaced 2 million. So it's the toughest work I've ever done, but it's also the most fulfilling. Knowing that our efforts make a difference keeps me motivated, and Northern gave me the foundation for this work. I think it gave me the skills to lead and organize and to be part of something bigger than myself, and I want to give back a little bit. Going forward, I'd like to offer a small annual scholarship to Northern students as a way to help others follow their paths as I've followed mine. I'd also like to offer to talk to prospective students about what life is like at Northern, and if if interested, maybe to also talk about my humanitarian work. I don't have this with me now, but I do have, as a small token of my appreciation, a little Northern Jiu-Jitsu T-shirt that I'd like to also present to the athletic team. I really just hope to continue to help supporting this incredible community and help Northern thrive just as it's helped me. So thank you again, everybody, for this honor. It really means a lot to be up here. I haven't mentioned my family yet, but also want to say a big thanks to my mom and my dad. They've been a really big part of my journey. So this award means so much to me, and thank you, everybody, for it.
You know, Northern has only done that gold award for 10 or 15 years, but it really highlights the future of what Northern is. And when you see our young graduates and what they're doing, and then you hear the career path that Ron Rivet had in his experience, you just see the two connecting ends of where Northern takes people. So congratulations again. Congratulations to all the inductees tonight. What a wonderful evening. How about another round of applause for them? So with that, on behalf of President Schnorr, A.D. Davis, the Northern State University, and the Foundation, thank you for joining us. We look forward to tomorrow. Don't forget there's a parade in the morning. All the inductees are invited to the breakfast over at the Foundation office, which is just kitty corner. That'll be at 7:30, so don't stay out too late. But if you want to, you can. That's okay also. The parade will be at 9 o'clock downtown, the traditional path. A tailgate at noon in the parking lot behind the stadium, and then the football games at 2:30. Wrestlers, if you're still in here, don't forget you're going to cross the bridge and go upstairs to the wrestling reunion. The rest of you, please socialize, mingle, thank Dr. Schnorr, and appreciate you coming. Go Wolves! Whose glasses?